Good morning, everybody. We are live inside our private Facebook group, Unstoppable 2024. We just wrapped up this incredible event, and it really was an incredible event. We're getting emails from you, shares, people saying that forgiveness piece really made the biggest difference to them. So if that's you and you were part of that first call, make sure you share your ahas, okay? So when we do these events, and this one's a little different from the events that we've been doing, we like to have prizes and we like to include some sort of accountability, right? And so you're connected to, good morning, Diana. So you're connected to it. And so what we do is we give away prizes, but we want you to share, because when you share, other people learn from you. Okay. So we're going to have 9 o'clock tonight as the deadline for shares. Okay. So good morning, Nora. So make sure you have your biggest aha that you're sharing from day 1 or day 2. 9 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time is going to be the deadline, and then we'll announce the winners tomorrow. So once again, 9 o'clock tonight, the deadline for your shares. So if you have any replays to get through and you want to be part of the draw, and we give away things that go along with everything we've been talking about. Sometimes it's a gratitude journal, maybe it's a book, but I always find intuitively it's what the person needs. It's just so interesting how this all works out. I always have so much fun with it. Okay, so shares by 9 o'clock tonight, and then replays, we're going to leave them up for a few more days. I usually like to leave them up for a total of, including the live event, about, a week or maybe 10 days, but I want to make sure you're actually doing them, because I know Parkinson's law, so important. Work expands to time allotted. So if you haven't done them yet, ask yourself why. What's standing in the way? Especially, we're hearing from people, it's some amazing information, some amazing content, really helping the transformation process, really helping the self-awareness process. What is it that's holding you back from watching them? Okay, ask yourself that, because it's always a program. It's always a thought. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is going to be our bonus content. And again, this event was a little different than the events we did before. Those were 4 or 5 days where we can really, good morning, where we could really get into things. This was a 2-part event. And the reason we did that is it makes it easier to get into the course, but then there's supplementals that I didn't have a chance to talk about that are so important that I wanted to make sure to include. And so for today's bonus, this is called Empowered Mornings. This is really about the tips to help your paradigm work for you rather than against you, because we don't want it to be something that we're afraid of and we think is sabotaging us. We want to actually be in control of that, reprogram it so we can get the amazing results that we want to get in our lives. Okay, so we're going to be talking about empowered mornings, because morning really is the key to setting everything up for the day and mastering your paradigm for success. I've got 5 tips that I want to share with you. Okay, so 5 tips. So make sure you write these down, come back to them. And the idea is you may not be here where you're doing all 5. In fact, you may not even be doing 1. And that's okay, all right? Remember, as human beings, we tend to overcomplicate things. We tend to think it has to be perfect or else. That's just a program. Take away from this anything that's going to help up-level you and move you forward, but grow. So maybe if you're doing one of these things, you can think, okay, I'm going to add in this now, or maybe I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it more times throughout the day, okay? Yeah. Oh, I love it. Deanna says empowered mornings sounds awesome. Yeah. Doesn't that just make you feel so good? And the reason I'm talking about empowered mornings is you can say, I may not be a morning person. I don't like mornings, but remember, everything's a program. We can change it. But when you start to learn about energy and belief systems, you realize that how you start your day really sets the stage for how the day is going to unfold, because what you focus on grows. And so when I start working with clients, one of the first things we do is we get them to have some sort of a morning routine. Okay. And it's going to be different for everyone, but the idea is you want to get out of the gate focused on what it is that's important to you. And when you're focused on those things, all the other stuff goes to the side. Okay. So I'm going to go through these 5 things. And the first one, I really want to dive deep into this because you've probably heard it before, is expressing gratitude. Okay. Now, you may not understand why we do that. And yes, it's going to make us happier. The research is really strong. You're healthier, you're happier, you're more confident, but it's actually a vibrational thing. Okay. As we've learned in Unstoppable, everything is energy, and thoughts have different energy associated with it. And when we wake up first thing in the morning and we grab our phones and we look at our phones and we scroll social media and we look at everything that's wrong in the world, how does it make you feel? That's a vibration, that's your feeling, and that's what's going out, that's what you're going to attract back. So in the morning, by sitting down and really focusing on what you're grateful for, and by the way, it's not just enough to think it in your head, okay? That's your paradigm. You got to write this down because you're being intentional and you're telling your subconscious mind, you mean business, okay? So you sit down, you write things that you're grateful for. And I have a little strategy here. Even if you just start with 3 things, and while you're writing those things, you're actually focused on how they make you feel. Okay. Does anyone know why you would do that? You write them down. Say the first at the top of my list is always my amazing, awesome husband. You probably can hear in the other room, but I go there and I think of how that makes me feel. And that changes my vibration. And if you hold that, Esther and Jerry Hicks do a good job of explaining in their books, The Law of Attraction, wrote a number of books, but when you're holding it, and I think they say like around 40 seconds or so, you hold that thought, you can literally change your mood in an instant. Okay. So really going there. So what I like to do is I share, I'm a Bob Proctor coach. I share all his strategies and methods because they have changed my life. So one of the things he talks about is, write down 10 things that you're grateful for, okay? Bless 3 people that you're unhappy with, okay? And then you sit in silence and you ask for direction for the day. Now, one of the reasons you might bless the 3 people that you are unhappy with is because, remember, we talked about forgiveness. It's actually not about the other person, it's about you. And if in your vibration, you're carrying around resentment, that's a vibration, that's a feeling, that's what's going out, that's what you're getting back. You may not even realize it. And so if you can bless 3 people, you kind of neutralize that. And eventually, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy, eventually you release it and it feels good. Okay. So 10 things you're grateful for, bless 3 people you're unhappy with, and you sit in silence and you ask for guidance from a higher power, whoever that is for you. You might call universe, you might call it source. I choose to call it God. You ask for direction, and then you're connected with a higher power that we all have access to, but we're often too busy to access it. Okay. So that's the first piece. And if there's anything that you start with, I would say that for sure. And by the way, these strategies take a little bit to implement because you've got paradigm pushback. And I always tell my group, it took me like 4 or 5 years to get a regular gratitude practice, but now I do it every single day. And I notice if for some reason I miss it, I notice it. And I hear that from my mindset clients as well. The next one that's important, okay, and we've talked about this before, but I want to be clear, is you want to set an intention. So you call it intention setting. And the reason, and this is different than gratitude. Gratitude is let's celebrate everything amazing and wonderful in my life, because if I want prosperity, I need to do it from a place of prosperity. So I want to notice all the prosperity around me, right? Because remember, it's whatever you focus on grows. We've talked about that. Now getting into intention setting, that's really getting clear with where you are directing your focus for the day. Okay. And it can be as simple as I want to have a productive day. I want to laugh today. I want to have great food that's good for my body today. I want to move my body today. It could be, I want to get this project done and feel incredible when it's over. But you got to set your intentions. It makes such a difference. And when I first learned this, I didn't believe it. Like so many of these things, you think, okay, that doesn't make sense. But I used to use it for driving to work. I would say, okay, I'm going to get to work on time. I'm going to hit the red lights. I'm going to feel rejuvenated when I get there. Every single time it would work. So start there. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, that's a little bit of a stretch, start there. But the intention setting can transform your life, because especially if you're stuck in a program of chaos, if you're busy all the time, if you're go, 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 that's actually a program. That's a result from what's happening in here. Intention setting can give you organization and it can give you clarity. Okay. The next piece that is so important, okay, is you got to take some time to learn about you. And I don't just mean what you like and what you don't like, what you think you're here to do. I mean how the mind works, how we create, how imagination is important, how we have these programs that impact our results. You got to do personal development work. Okay, you got to bring those pieces together. If not, you're not growing in understanding. Okay, so that is something that we do within our high level mindset group. We have an empower group for those who completed high level mindset. We do something called 6 a.m. club. And that's, you set aside, 30 minutes of growth time. And some people will say like, I don't have time for this. Then I always like to say, well, you've learned through our teaching that the only way you can really change is if you shift your paradigm. Yes. And they'll say yes. And I'll say, well, that personal development time is actually you shifting your paradigm and understanding how the process works. So you have to make time for it, especially if you want big things in your life and you want big things in your life and you want change because you're here on this training. So you've got to invest the time in you to understand you as a human being, how your programs work, how your self-image works, how the laws of the universe work, because everything is according to law. And when you learn that and you understand that, there's a certain faith and understanding that goes with that. So you know, when I set an intention, that's going to work out. But you have to have the understanding of how that all comes together. So that's why the personal development time is really, really important. There's 2 more. Okay. And you might be listening thinking, oh my God, you do all these in the morning. Most days I do, if I, and I've got it down to a science, but again, I just know what helps me thrive as a human being. And so often we spend our time doing things that don't make us thrive, like mindless scrolling on social media, right? But this, you're investing in yourself. You're investing the time in yourself. And you've got to remember that affirmation that I am worth the investment of time, the investment of money. I am worthy of that. Because if you don't believe that, you're not going to do any of this. And then nothing's going to change, right? So the first thing is looking at your belief in your worth, your worthiness, and you are absolutely worthy of this for change. And when you change and grow, everyone around you benefits. When you show up the best version of you, we know this. Your kids feel better. Your partner feels better. Maybe you have parents feel better. Everyone feels better when you show up as the best version of you. Okay. So if you've just come on, I want to review this. We're talking about, empowered mornings and mastering your paradigm for success. And I'm talking about 5 key things. And the first one is the importance of gratitude, and how it's really about changing your vibration for the day. Instead of getting out of bed, looking at everything that's wrong, which is going to attract a negative experience, you're instead focusing on everything that's right. And then you will attract a positive experience. And then sometimes I'll have people ask about this, rightly so, right? This is for some people, this is information. They're just like, I don't understand this. I'll say it's like the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. We've heard this before. Now, looking at the glass half full doesn't mean you're denying the glass is half empty. And looking at the glass half empty doesn't mean you're denying the glass is half full. But what people don't realize is the one they choose determines what they experience in their reality, because what you focus on grows. Okay. So just because you're focused on all the positive, it doesn't mean you're ignoring the negative. You're just choosing to have an experience that you want in your life. Okay. The next one is intention setting, right? So intention setting is about deciding, where you want that energy flows to and through you, where you want that to be directed through the day. Is it a positive day, a productive day? Do you want to feel incredible? Do you want to feel beautiful? Put it out there. And then the personal development work. So understanding how you work. Okay. 2 more affirmations. Now we talk about this in Unstoppable. And it's not just about having an affirmation that someone else is doing and then you adopt it and it's going to work for you. It's about understanding where your belief system is at, where your limitations are at, because everything is self-awareness, and then developing an affirmation for that. So if you're someone who struggles with staying on track with their fitness program, okay, then that is what's happening. You've got to develop an affirmation to counter that. First of all, understanding where that comes from. And oftentimes it's, I'm not worthy of spending time on myself, or I'm going to fail, or this, I always fail. It's usually a combination of those things, but the worthiness piece is the biggest piece that I find with women who start and then stop. They're not seeing the value of investing in themselves. They see everything else around them is so much more important than them. And it's got to be the other way around, because you tell others how to treat you by the way you treat you, right? Everything is a reflection of what you do. So how do you expect your kids to do the same if you're not doing the same? Okay, so maybe an affirmation might be, I am committed to my health and wellness. And if that's too much, and it might be, I'm learning to commit to my health and wellness. But it's got to be tailored to whatever the belief, the limitation is, so it can counter that. And you're going to get some paradigm pushback. It comes in all sorts of ways: frustration, overwhelm, I want to quit, this stuff doesn't work. That's just your program pushing back, you guys. 96 to 98% is a subconscious program. Anytime you step out of that, your body just, and it feels so real. But when, again, if you're doing your personal development homework, you understand that that's the process, and it's a lot easier to take than you're going crazy and you're never going to do this. It's just part of the process of changing, okay, of habit change. So affirmations, and these are things you don't just do once and then it's done. I mean, you got to reprogram your subconscious mind. And we learned in Unstoppable, there are two ways to do that. The first is through emotional impact. And so I used the example of my father going to the doctor saying, you know, you have spots on your lungs, you have emphysema, you need to quit smoking. He left right away, never picked up a cigarette again. That's emotional impact. Most of the time it's negative. We want to avoid the negative and instead use what's called spaced repetition. So every single day, you are looking at that affirmation. You're imagining that affirmation. And so you can't just do it once and that's over. Your paradigm will have you do it a couple times. And then after 4 or 5 days, you feel a little bit better, you stop it. I've been there. That's why I can say this. You do it, you feel better, you stop it, and then everything is back to normal. Okay, so you got to stick with it. That's why coaching is so important, because we think we can do it on our own. But the reality is, if we could do it on our own, we all would have hit our goals by now. Okay, it's a process of learning. And when you are ready, you know that you are ready. You're like, enough is enough. I'm not going to be in the same spot as I was a year ago. I'm going to change things. And that's why, you know, coaching is good, because it keeps you accountable. When your paradigm kicks in, we know that. We're trained to recognize that. We reach out, we coach you through it. Then you have a quantum leap. Okay. For every drop, there's a quantum leap. So affirmations, so important, but you've got to pick the affirmations that are going to work best for you and water down that language. Okay. So you might be writing these out. You know, you might do them on a whole page. You might do them 100 times. But again, someone will say to me, oh, that's just so much work. And I'm like, well, do you want to change? Like, this is what works. So you've got to lean into what works and think of the other things that you're doing in your day that are not giving you benefit to moving you forward, right? That's how I always think of it. I think of, okay, I'm spending my time doing this. But what is it taking me away from? Like, I'm growing as a human being, and that's why I'm here in this world, to grow, to motivate and inspire others. So yeah, I need to work on this every day so I can teach others to do it. Okay. And then number 5, this is big, visualizing. And in Unstoppable, I shared some of the research with you of how your subconscious mind doesn't realize what is real or imagined. And that's why visualization is so powerful. Olympians use it, politicians use it, actors use it. You got to see your goal. You have to see yourself in that new image before it can actually happen. The image in your mind controls your thinking, it controls your feeling, it controls your actions, and it controls your results. And oftentimes, we're all incredible manifestors. We are, but we have the wrong image up here. We have an image of unfit, unhealthy, I can't do that, failure, and we don't even realize it because, again, it's a program. So once you get the clear view of where you're headed, okay, and if you're having trouble with that, that's why we're here. Reach out to us. We do this stuff all the time. I know Nora's on the live. It's vision clarity. It's like 15 minutes. But we know the right questions to ask. We got to get you clear. But once you have your clear vision, then it's about going there. Okay, and if I can remind you about your workbook, one of the questions, and it's a real game changer if you go back to it, is that sheet. I think it's like page 5. I'm just looking at my laptop, and it's like you take your goal and my goal, and one side is where you're at now, and the other side is, okay, where you would be if you were living this goal. And you put the thoughts down on the page and you can see the difference, everyone. And so I bring you back to that because the first column is where your image is now producing your results. If you want the other results, you got to hop over to the other column and start thinking and visualizing and seeing yourself that way. And that's what really needs, that's what really needs attention and focus. And that's why the coaching is so important. Okay. So let me go through these again. I'm going to recap them. And I just want to say that these are awesome habits. So if you're hearing them and you're like, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I don't do any of these, start small, choose one that resonates with you and start to incorporate it. Now, I will say these 5 things are going to raise your vibe. They're going to make you feel amazing, but you may not experience change on the outside, because to experience change on the outside, you got to go into your program and you got to start reprogramming your beliefs. And that's where the coaching comes in. So this information is going to make you feel good, but to actually make a change, that's where you need to work with a coach. So if you're hearing this and you've looked at our coaching programs, let this be your sign that this is a good fit for you, because you're hearing this at that time. Okay. So please reach out about that. Now, I want to review these. Okay. So if you're just joining us, what we're talking about, empowered mornings and mastering your paradigm for success. Okay. And we were talking about 5 things that I do. We teach this inside our mindset group that are incredible. Okay. But it's about doing them every single day. So you stabilize your vibration, not just once in a while. That's when things don't change. The stabilization of the vibration in the new image is what brings you your goal. So the first one is gratitude. Okay. 10 things that you're grateful for, plus 3 people you're unhappy with. It might be difficult, but in a couple of days, or sometimes it's a couple months, you feel better. And then you sit in silence and you ask for guidance to that higher power, whether it's universe, whether it's source. I choose to call that God. You ask for that guidance, and then you let that guide you for the day. Okay. You write that down, and you write these down. They're not just in your head. Number 2 is intention setting. So you set a clear intention of your day. I want to have a prosperous day. I want to have a fun day. I want to have wonderful food, high vibe foods for my body, and I feel incredible. Okay. And write it down. You can even say it on your way to work. Okay. But the intention setting is really important. And you might want to start there, because that's where you can really see, whoa, this is cool. And then personal development homework. So when you're actually reading and studying the books, like the right books, you got to make sure you're studying the right books that support this information. We go through all that in our mindset programs, but taking the time and understanding, you got to grow in levels of awareness to accept these new programs. Okay. Affirmations, and not just any affirmation that you see like on your social feed. It's got to be for you. And how do you know it's for you? You go through where your limitations are. You pull out that unstoppable workbook. You see where you're at, and then you create an affirmation accordingly. And that's going to be the one that makes the biggest difference for you. You can take these affirmations, you can do them in the mirror. It's tough at first, but that's when you really start to see, okay, this is who I am. And it's not silly, because this stuff works, you guys. Okay. And then of course the visualization piece, and you want to try these. The visualization is great first thing in the morning or just before you're going to bed, because that's when you are least, impacted by all the crazy stuff that's happening around you. And you can really go there to your vision of healthy, fit, and vibrant you, healthy, fit, and prosperous you, confident, incredible, amazing you, whatever that vision is. Okay. So I've gone through a lot. There's a lot here, but these 5 things have made an incredible difference in my life. So has coaching. Incredible difference. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for, the thousands of dollars I invested in me to grow me, especially if you're a coach, you're a leader, you're a manager. You've got to grow you before you can grow anyone on your team. So it's so very important to understand the worth of growing yourself, showing up for yourself, taking the time for you. Okay, so once again, we're going to have these replays live for a few more days. 9:00 tonight is the deadline for your shares. And when you share, everyone in the group learns, because everyone takes something different away from the training that they're meant to take away, and someone just scrolling through might have been meant to see your share. Okay, so share, use the hashtag day one, use the hashtags. We'll go through and we'll announce the winners tomorrow. And then a note about the replays. If you have friends, because some of you are emailing me and saying, I've got friends coming in, just let them know it's usually the end of the week. So what are we at? We're at Thursday. I was going to say we're at Friday. We usually keep them up to the end of the week. So get them in, let them know to watch. And please, the workbook, it's a keeper. So make sure you print it before it gets taken down. And also the vision clarity sessions. Okay. Go and book. There's a link to book inside your portal where you'll find all the replays. You might want to go back and listen to the replays. Make sure you book a call, connect with us, especially if you're hearing this and you're thinking, okay, this is something that I need to do. I'd be happy to walk you through the different programs that we have, the different options. We've got about 4 at different price points. So reach out, book a call, and we'll chat and set an intention right now for the kind of day you're going to have as soon as you get off this live. Is it going to be a vibrant day? Is it going to be a fun day? Are you going to laugh today? Are you going to get out in nature? Write it down and have an incredible one. Thank you so much for joining us. This was so much fun. Bye, everybody.